Blessed to know the
verse 30.
huh?
Verse 30.
Verse 30?
Yeah.
I see. I see, yeah, verse 30, right. Verse 30. Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech, being peerless, conviction arises in me also, that your other words are valid too, right? So last time what we talk about is last time we talk about the things that those distorted view and perverted view pertaining to the those phenomena like evident phenomena and obscure phenomena. All the distorted views relating to them are removed, right? Removed by understanding the dependent origination, right? By seeing the dependent origination, so all these perverted views are removed. So then verse 30 says, so because of this, because of seeing the dependent origination, we finally come to not only remove the distorted views relating to the manifest phenomena and the hidden phenomena, but also because of having gained that conviction in this phenomena, you also come to gain the conviction in the other teachings, other teachings like extremely hidden phenomena. Because on the one hand, we prove the Four Noble Truth, we prove the dependent origination with the reason, with the help of the reason, stainless reason. We prove the validity of the Four Noble Truth, and we also prove the validity of the dependent origination. Similarly, we also by relying on this, by base on this, we also come to prove the validity of the extremely hidden phenomena. So this is what the verse 30 is saying. Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech is speech being peerless, right? So being peerless, conviction arises in me also. Conviction arises me. The rationale for your speech being peerless, what kind of speech, the speech of having taught the dependent origination, and also the speech of having taught the validity of the validative of the hidden phenomena, right, like impermanent, four noble truth, the dependent origination, so on and so forth, which then makes come to believe and arise conviction in me, relating to other phenomena like extremely hidden phenomena. That your other words are also valid too. Other words, extremely hidden phenomena are also valid too, right? So this, then verse 31, you who speak excellently by seeing as it is, for those who train in your footsteps, all degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone, right? So it says, you who speak excellently, so it is Buddha. So it is Buddha who spoke excellently. What he spoke excellently? The one that he spoke excellently is the dependent origination. So dependent origination is what Buddha taught as so excellently, right? Just as seeing the dependent origination as it is, Buddha also taught this excellently. For those who train in your footsteps. So for those means those who after having trained in your footsteps, right, who after having trained in your footsteps, then what they come to know, what they come to understand is, they come to understand the teaching, the teachings which talks about what are to be abandoned and what are to be accepted. So you want come to make such kind of difference, right? You come to know the such kind of difference. The those teachings, those kind of the points which what are to be accepted and what are to be rejected, right? So through this, all the degenerations will become remote, right? All the degeneration, all the shortcomings, all the defects will become remote by following in your footsteps. What kind of footsteps? In the footsteps or the teachings, those teachings that comprise what is to be accepted and what is to be rejected, right? So will this, all the degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone, right? Because all the degenerations will become remote, because now what is the cause for the degenerations? What are the main causes for degenerations, right? What is the main cause for the degenerations? What is the main cause of the defects, all the shortcomings, right? The main cause for all the degenerations, for all the defect, is the ignorance, right? Ignorance. So now how do we undo the ignorance, right? How do we remove the ignorance? Ignorance is eliminated or removed only by cultivating the wisdom, right? Where does this wisdom come from? This wisdom comes from by using the reason of dependent origination, right? Dependent origination. So the wisdom with hardship for a long time, faults increase, shortcomings increase, defects increase even more as being called forth, as if being called forth. For they, right, for they make from the view of self. So now what is this is saying? For those who turn away from your teaching, right, who does not accept your teaching, the teaching, here talking about, the teaching on all the Buddha taught, the vast number of teaching, but of all the vast number of teaching, it is the dependent origination, the dependent teaching on dependent origination, which is the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, right? So this teaching, but those who turn away from your teaching on dependent origination, teaching of dependent arising as a means of emptiness, emptiness as a means of dependent arising, if you turn away from such a teaching, though they may struggle with hardship for a long time, right? So with this, provided this, if even they make they put a lot of effort, they struggled with their practice for a long period of time, but then what happened? Why do they struggle? They do struggle in order to remove the suffering, in order to remove the afflictions, right? But then what happened is, instead of removing the suffering and afflictions, the faults increase, the shortcomings increase. What kind of shortcoming? The shortcoming of suffering, the shortcoming of afflictions arise and increase even more, as if being called forth. For example, like some although they do not although they intentionally don't call forth these these kind of faults or shortcomings. Like if you call somebody's name, somebody is coming, right? So similarly, they don't intentionally call forth this, but then it is like calling forth these faults, these shortcomings. Why the shortcomings, the faults are being called, as if all the shortcomings, the faults are like being called upon, because the method, the method that they engage in, the method that they apply are unrealistic method. So these unrealistic method are being used to remove suffering, but they don't remove suffering. What really happens is they stabilize the grasping, they increase the grasping, right? They strengthen the grasping. Here again, when we talk about grasping, there are two kinds of grasping, right? One is imputed grasping, one is innate. Innate we all have. Imputed, you create. When, for example, when we train in some philosophical system, the presentation of the presentations, the presentation of the path, right? So we in some way we get polluted, right? Our mind gets polluted. Then that polluted is what is called as imputed grasping. right? For example, in some philosophical thing, not only philosophy, right? Even day to day life, right? We are using a lot of reason, right? For example, anything, oh, this is permanent, things are permanent. So, we use our own, many distorted reason to prove and to try to establish the things as long lasting, eternal and permanent. So this is what is later become imputed, the imputed believing things as permanent based on mistaken logic or reason, right? So this is imputed. So their method, they kind of the method which used to remove the suffering, instead of removing suffering, they don't remove suffering, they are invited. The false are being invited, the false are being called upon. Why the false are being called upon? It is like as if the false are being called upon, the shortcomings are being called upon, because this unrealistic method stabilize the grasping at the imputed grasping as well as the innate grasping. When the method, for example, medicine, right? Medication is just for recovering, right? For recovering the illness. If the medicine itself become poison, then difficult, right? Difficult. So similarly, the method, the so-called, they call the method, for removing suffering, they themselves stabilize. If ignorance is stabilized, the grasping is stabilized. Based on their grasping, the suffering and the afflictions are also stabilized. It increases in strength. Then all the faults are being invited. So that's why all the faults are being invited, right? Now, for example, here it says, unrealistic method, right? For example, sometime in ancient system, philosophical system, in ancient philosophical system, sometime we say, for example, like sacrifice, right? Human sacrifice, or some kind of like taking a shower in the specific holy pilgrimage sites, right? Taking a shower, they do believe the negativities are purified, your sins are being purified, so like this, right? So this, because this does not, when we talk about the human sacrifice, like these things, right? So these are in some way considered as a religious, I think, right? And also taking shower, right? Now, so these are unrealistic method, right? Unrealistic method. There is no way that one could achieve liberation, the total, to get freed from the suffering by doing all these things, right? Because when we talk about the liberation or total cessation of suffering, all this comes from taming one's mind, training one's mind, right? Not through external, means. And for example, like taking the shower, for example, taking some kind of for example, sometimes we get some holy water, right? We get some water, the water is blessed, and then if we drink, sometimes we believe our we get some our illness get recovered, right? We feel our sometimes we have some kind of illness, right? So it look like sometimes some kind of recovery if we drink. So then the question comes: this, by drinking the water, will it help to remove the will it help to purify the negativity or not? Yeah, they need to be think. That's important. Yeah. Right. Taking, right. For example, if you take the shower, you don't purify, right? You don't purify. If you take the shower, just taking the shower, putting the soap and all these things, right? Negative, we do purify the negative karma. Huh? Huh? No. This we don't purify negative karma. If that does not purify the negative karma, then, for example, sometime I think people sometimes during the religious event, we have the special event which is what is called as ablution. Water, we put the water, bathing, Buddha bathing, so we purify, right? Then we purify the negative karma. Need to think about this. Yeah, that's very important. Then one come to try to relate everything together. Then otherwise so that's what is dharma study. Yeah. Try to relate even to this and that. Then we come to understand the real many of the core teachings, many points important. Otherwise we sometimes we skeptical, right? Oh, how come this, right? If that is the case, then Buddha say, right, what Buddha taught was, Buddhas do not Buddhas do not clear away the sin like like cleansing in the water, right? Buddhas do not remove the suffering by hand blessing. Or Buddha cannot transfer his internal qualities towards others. The sentient beings, the suffering and the negativities of the sentient beings can be brought under control, can be put to an end only through realizing the truth, the ultimate truth, right? So there is no things like negativities can be purified through negative karma, or sin can be purified through water, right? Then what?
To purify the negative karma, it was said one needs the 4 powers. The blessed water, or the faith into the blessed water, is only one of the power. So purify the karma or not depends on the practitioner if they have the the other three necessary factors.
Mm. Mm. Blessing water. Only one factor.
Right.
One power.
If the practitioner who, for example, one just takes the blessed water, they will receive the blessing, but they have no intention to correct their past actions. They have no regrets of past actions. It does not purify, right?
But it purify in little way, no, not a single purification.
Well, they will receive the blessings for future time.
Oh, only blessing. Only blessing. So then this blessing is for what? Purifying the negative karma.
Well, it will make plant a seed for this person in the future have the right cause and effect to arise to purify their negative karma.
So then also the same, sometimes we call the, sometimes, right, for example, right, we have a glass of, we have a water, right, then this water we do some kind of rituals, right, through the power of the visualization, through the power of the deity visualization, and also with the lot of visualization involved, to bless the water, right, and also a lot of mantra, and then that water become the blessed water, right. So this in some way the practitioner, the someone who is, if you give this water to somebody who is physically ill, that person to some extent, in some way, relieve the illness in some way, right? If not, if not, all, but at least relieve the illness in some way, right? So this we see, right? But then, because sometimes yeah. Anyway, so this helps to relieve the illnesses, but does it helps to, if this water helps to remove, helps to relieve the sickness, illness or pain, why not it, why not this water helps to purify the negative karma? I don't know, maybe, for example, I was told some medicine, when we take the medication, right, maybe some chemicals, there's some power, somehow a chemical power, right, chemical power to relieve the illness, to relieve the illness or to get recovery of illness. But another factor is also involved. When you take the medicine, when we take the medicine, why we do take the medicine? We believe, psychologically, we believe, if I take this medicine, I will get recovered. So also psychological also makes some impact, right? So the mind is involved. Oh, I get recovery. If I eat this medicine, I will get recovery. So this also contribute in the relieveness of this. Even though medication, original medication helps in relieving illnesses. If that is the case, then why not negative karma, purify negative karma?
Well, karma can replace it.
Well, the case that you talk about, the psychology, the illness will get relieved because psychology power, like it cannot be healed, right?
But
so similarly, karma may be reduced or maybe delayed to cause the results. However, the root is not cleared up. The root is still there.
Sometimes sometimes very it's also a little bit how to say, little bit surprising, and that sometimes we go for audience, audience with a high master, high lama, very high lama. So when we receive some blessing, we say, oh, I am suffering from this and that, and the high master give something, and you eat, it seems it works in relieving your pain. Many things are involved, right? One is, it's a high, maybe high lama, because of also because there is a interestingly, there's one mantra. There's one mantra. Although the medicine is potent, but the mantra is being the mantra is being chanted on this mantra is being chanted. The medicine becomes more powerful. And then what we call as by telling the words of truth, by telling the words of truth, it also contribute. So many things, many things involved, but it works, right? Whether it this kind of the whatever pills, precious pills or whatever. When we take it, we get relieved. We get relieved. Sometimes it look my mind gets calmed, but then how far it purifies one's negative karma, right? One's negative karma. They those also someone who has completed the a generation stage, right? For example, in the Vajrayana, when someone completes the generation stage, they achieve 8 eight siddhis, attainments. In one of the siddhi, also blessing the medicine. When by such a person, when they bless the medicine, it becomes very powerful. Right. So there is no doubt. There is no doubt that it works definitely for relieving the sickness, illnesses. But then, how far this purify one's negative karma? It's almost like and also for example, as we said before, ritual bathing. You are putting taking a bath of the enlightened beings in the mirror. You are taking the bath or shower of the enlightened beings in the mirror, and then the practitioner, the doyer, may have 4 powers, right? Complete with 4 powers or not complete with 4 powers, or one is missing or 2 is missing, whatever it is, but still the person purify, right? Person purify the negative karma, right? Just taking a shower of the enlightened beings, of the enlightened masters, of the beings in the mirror, right? Which ritual bathing we call, right? Ablution. Right? What you answer? If you say yes, then we really what we have built so far, a very concrete foundation. In the concrete foundation, the great master Dharmakirti tried to establish the validity of the Buddha's teaching, validity of the Buddha's teaching, that it is through training the mind, not other means, like, because when he tried to prove the validity of the Buddha's teaching, he tried to, refute the others' viewpoint, others' view, ancient traditions' viewpoint, that the things like, sacrifice, taking, bath, heavily pilgrimage sites, is not the method for removing negativities. So all these are destroyed. All this, the principle, all this principle is dismantled. Huh? Give you an idea. Through this we learn, Then we sharpen our mind through this, examination. We really sharpen our mind. So this is this is one method for seeing all the Buddha's teaching as non-contradictory. Otherwise, we see, Buddha said this, they say, look contradictory. We get confused. So try to investigate, examine, and we will come to understand.
I think during the bath ritual, if the 4 factors is not completed, they will accumulate merits for sure. These merits may lead them to ripen up cause and effect, that they can generate thoughts and methods to purify their negative karma in the future. But at the moment, I don't believe they will purify their negativities of karma without the 4 factors.
So therefore, don't purify. We just take the example, right, of the bathing. So this bathing ritual, right? I just take this bathing as a ritual, This purify negative karma or not is, yes, it does purify. How it purify? I think if you take some interest in the the ritual in itself, for example, Buddhas don't need wash. They have no purities. They have no impurities to be washed away. They don't need. But then, for what purpose we do this? For our own accumulation of merit. So we do this. Right? Buddhas no need you wash. They are the moment they get enlightened, they are pure. Right? So mainly because of our accumulation of the merit, right? Accumulation of the merit. Through this, we create certain amount of merit. By doing some ritual ablution, we create a certain amount of merit because of engaging in this act, in this positive act, which then help us create merit. So this merit exhausts the negative karma. And then also, now here also the 4 powers also make a sense. 4 powers. Need to do this with the 4 powers, right? So this is how it works. But then master, the great master like Dharmakirti, this opposed the idea, opposed such an idea that taking a shower in the holy sites will not remove the suffering, is because in that case, what they do, they don't think mental. There is no importance, being placed at the motivation level, mental level. What they, place most important at physical level, verbal level. So this is the great Indian master Dharmakirti trying to object. This is not the right thing, right? So also the idea, the notion of the liberation, there's huge difference, huge difference. In the ancient, philosophical tradition, and what is being taught in the Buddhist tradition. Buddhist tradition talks about mainly through training the mind, right? So on the other hand, say, right, physical action, verbal action more important than mental action, the mind. So therefore, Dharmakirti is trying to object these things. This is not the right way to do. How is it possible? Right? That's very simple. If there is some kind of tradition, but just by drinking the, if you say, by drinking a cup of holy blessed water, all your suffering is gone. Oh, everybody, we do. We are very happy to do. First one, just drink this and then just check, how far it's going. Really. So Buddhist emphasis on the training. Everything is done through training. Also, if you try to look at the Dharmakirti's walk, how Buddha traveled through the path, how Buddha achieved the enlightenment, he tried to prove all this through training. Buddha trained. Buddha trained. Right from the beginning, nobody is perfect, right? Nobody is perfect, enlightened. But through training, slowly, progress, and finally you are awakened. We are awakened state. So this is what we are trying. What it says, huh?
So with that being said, for the blessed, in the rituals, either bless the water or showering rituals, in order for you to bless the water or bless the subject for one to take to actually work to purify one's negative karmas, one needs to have the mental factors to be involved. That includes the four, to be summarized, the four powers, right? If that mental factor is not involved, simply just taking a holy water, either from a highly blessed, from Buddhist tradition or from other tradition, it should not work. Right.
Here, you see, four factors, four powers is necessary, right? Is the most powerful. This if all the four powers are present, then the purification being made, if you try the negation, the purification practice, it is more powerful, right? We can purify to a greater extent. We can purify. However, right, but then when we for example, sometimes we come to the event, right, we are doing air pollution, so without any thinking, just one's mind is totally blank, right? Totally blank, just like blindfolded. I think nobody is doing that, right? Nobody coming. I mean, I need to participate. I'm going to attend this event, that event. Thinking, some kind of benefit, right? Whether you know the purpose or not, purpose of the evolution. What is the purpose of the evolution of the bathing? Even though you have no idea, right? But then, in your mind, we believe a certain benefit. This alone benefit bring the merit. merit, this merit then help to exhaust, right, in some way, in certain way, if not totally all, right. If 4 powers are present, it's more. So this is how we understand. So like this, yeah. For they make the, now verse 33. Aha. When the wise comprehend the differences between these two, why would they not at that point ravish you from the depth of their being? Aha, right? Aha means in Tibetan, right? And sometimes like emaho, like emaho. Sometimes aha, ema means amazing. Aha, amazing. When the wise comprehend, when the wise who have the intelligent, those wise with the intelligent, wise comprehend the differences between these two. Now, what are the differences? The differences between these two, what are these two? Right. Now, inside and outside. Right. Inside refers to Buddhism. Outside refers to opposite to Buddhism. Tradition opposite to Buddhism. Why would they not at that point reverence you from the depth of their heart? They should reverence you, respect you from the depth of your heart. On what basis? Because you just see the clear distinction between the outsider and insider. Outsider, insider refers to the Buddhism and outside other tradition, right? Because we come to know, right? Because we come to know the traditions, those traditions which which the method is being employed, although they don't intentionally use the method, but then because the method is unrealistic method brings forth the suffering and the afflictions. On the other hand, the tradition, inside tradition, which then talks about the liberation, right? Liberation, and the method for achieving liberation is taught. The wisdom of the dependent origination, this method taught. So, one tradition brings forth the bliss, the joy, the eternal peace. On the other hand, in the tradition bring forth the suffering. So, by understanding the clear distinction between these two, why would the wise not reverence you from the depth of their heart? They should. Right. Now here, normally, sometimes what happens is, we say, are you Buddhist? Oh, I am Buddhist, right? And then most of the time we say, oh, my ancestors are, for example, like Buddhist, right? Now, what is the qualification of the Buddhist? Important. What is the qualification to be as a Buddhist?
Taking the free refugees.
Right, taking the refuge. Usually, in there is we can call someone Buddhist on the two bases. One is we can call that person as a Buddhist by accepting the one principle. That principle that is what called is from the viewpoint, from the point of view, from the perspective of the view. One is called Buddhist from the perspective of the conduct, behavior, right. If we accept the view, such a view, all the compounded things are impermanent, transient. All the contaminated phenomena are in the nature of dissatisfaction. All the phenomena are empty and selflessness. And then the nirvana is peace. If we accept this from the view, we are Buddhist. Then from the conduct side, if we do believe from the depth of one's heart, if we go for refuge to the three jewels, and then accepting no other refuge, then that is we call as Buddhist from the conduct side. So there are two, right? One is from the view side, one is from the conduct side, but more widely popular is from the conduct side.
What do you call the four seals?
Huh? Yeah, four seals. Yeah. If we accept the four seals, right, then we are Buddhist from the perspective of the view. If we accept the refuge, three refuge as a sole, ultimate refuge. Other than that, if you don't accept, then you are Buddhist from the conduct side. But then, from the viewpoint, from the point of view, because in the Buddhist, in our school of thought, in the Buddhism, there are four school of thought. Vabhishika, Sadantika, mind knowledge school, Madhyamika. There is some kind of question or some analysis pertaining to one division of the Vabhishika, whether they accept the four seal or not. So we don't discuss this, right? Otherwise, if we accept four seal, you are Buddhist from the perspective of the view. If we accept the three jewels as an ultimate refuge, you are Buddhist from the conduct side. So the differences between these two, why would they not at that point reward you from the depths of their being, right? From the depth of their being, right? But then we don't say, sometime what really happens is we tend to fall in the extreme, right? My tradition is the best, the tradition is not effective. So that again is not, a little bit dangerous. Almost like creating a disharmony, right? So anyway, the very important thing is we really need to study both system, other system as well as one's own system, right? One's own system we need to study, other system we need to study equally, right? And then you come to the conclusion, right? We come to the conclusion, right? For example, let alone your numerous teachings, even in the meaning of small part, those who find assertment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss to them as well. Those who find assertment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss to them as well. Right. So verse 34. So it is saying, let alone your numerous teaching, right? Even gaining conviction, gaining a firm conviction in your in your teachings, in your numerous teachings, give me the bliss. Let alone this even even in the meaning of a small amount. So here, let alone in your numerous teaching refers to mainly teaching which talks about the dependent origination. Emptiness is a dependent origination as the means of emptiness. This teaching, even by hearing this teaching, any conviction in this teaching gives me a bliss, gives me a great sense of joy. Let alone that, even in the meaning of a small part, even in the meaning, even if you try to gain the rough intellectual understanding, even if you gain a rough intellectual understanding, it gives me a sense of joy. Right? It says, right, those who find assertment in a cursory way, even in the meaning of small part, this brings supreme bliss. What kind of bliss? Oh yeah. That bliss is the bliss of the liberation and the bliss of the enlightenment. How? Right. So, in the Vajrakata Sutra, so this is supported by Vajrakata Sutra. In the Vajrakata Sutra, Buddha say, if we even the 4 words of teaching on dependent origination, just by hearing the 4 words, 4 words on the teaching of dependent origination, what happens is, even if you try to hear it, even try to remember, even if you try to memorize it, even if you try to retain it, try to speak to others, the 4 words, we create merit, right? This merit, we create certain amount of merit. That merit surpasses the merit gained through making a jewel treasury, making an offering of jewel treasury, filling the entire universe to the Buddha. That merit is surpasses by the merit of even the 4 words hearing dependent origination. Right, this is one thing. And also, just having a deep conviction, having a deep interest, having a deep kind of deep enthusiastic, deep having a devotion to the dependent arising teaching or emptiness, your negative karma, 10 non-virtuous negative karma is purified. Many of the negative karma, 10 non-virtuous negative karma that we have accumulated since beginningless time, many of them are purified. And also, not necessarily in this life, also 5 boundless actions, negative karma, 5 boundless negative karma that we have committed, also many of them are purified. So this is all the result of dependent origination, right? So then finally, through that merit, we can finally come to enjoy the bliss of the liberation and bliss of the enlightenment. So this is what is saying. Those who find assertment in a cursory way, this brings supreme joy, bliss to them as well. This supreme bliss. Right. First we hear dependent origination, wisdom gained, then that wisdom is sustained, trained for a long period of time, and which then brought into the, which then led to the cessation and the enlightenment. Right. So this is number 4. Then number 5, alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance. Though I have sought refuge for a long time in such an embodiment of excellence, I possess not a fraction of his qualities. Alas, alas means a sense of sadness. Tsongkhapa expressed the sense of sadness. Alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance, unknowing. My mind was defeated by ignorance of not knowing. though I have sought refuge for a long time, because Buddha taught a different numerous teaching. Buddha taught a different kinds of teaching, numerous teaching, and not refuge to you. I have sought refuge in you for a long period of time. In spite of this, in such an embodiment of excellence, I possess not a fraction of excellence, the excellence of speech, because Buddha taught dependent origination speech. Buddha taught the multitudes of teaching on dependent arising, dependent origination. But I haven't possessed not a fraction of it, not a fraction, even a portion of it I haven't possessed, right? So this verse 35. So Jetsongpa, Master Jetsongpa has, so that means he hasn't understood dependent origination. Huh? It looks like he hasn't understood dependent origination. How come? How come he hasn't, understood?
While he was searching in the past, now he has seen it. While he's writing this, he was in the position. Now he's seen it, but he's recalling in the past his personal experience before he realized the emptiness and dependent origination.
But this teaching, this dependent origination was, he wrote this dependent origination, right? So out of this, not only through intellectual understanding, he's really praising the Buddha, paying the homage, try to seek the intention, and I've also tried to seek the points of dependent arising. Emptiness as the means of dependent arising, and dependent arising as a means of emptiness. I try to search, I try to seek the essence, seek the points of this dependent arising, dependent origination, and seek refuge in you for a long period of time, right? But I haven't. So here, I possess not a fraction of his qualities, right? That does not mean Buddha. You can understand in different ways, or Buddha, you have a lot of qualities of the speech, qualities of the body, speech, and mind, which I haven't attained it, I haven't actualized. This is one way of interpreting. Another way is, I think, better that way. I haven't understood the points about the dependent origination that you taught. Even a part of it, you have taught the different kinds of dependent origination, by using the different, metaphors. But all this teaching on dependent origination, I haven't understood even the fraction of it. So better use, I haven't understood the essence, the points, of the subtle dependent origination. So although Jetsongpa understood, right? So as we said, this Jetsongpa is trying to maintain the uniquenesses of the Jetsongpa. He's very skillful, very skillful. He, when there is some disagreement, opinion, right? You have one opinion, I have another opinion. In Jetsongpa, when we try to deal with the other person, never try to hurt the feeling. This Jetsongpa try to make sure not hurt others' feeling, right? And then Jetsongpa, very good listener, very good listener. First he hear everything what other has to say. Then when other is done, Jetsongpa say, your view is something like amazing, wonderful. But then, however, if he would like to share his own position, then he say, this is my position, right? This is very the one of the unique And also, his unique ways, when he addressed the people, he always addressed the people, even the low profile, with respect. Always treating others with respect, a sense of respect, others. So this is the unique, quality of Je Tsongkhapa. Also, there are many, almost there are 40 biographies. The 40 different biographies that was being composed by the masters from all the 4 traditions, Nyingma, Saja, Kagyu, Geluk. Almost 40 biographies, different biographies, right? So in this, one will his physical features, his the personality, one will come to know all these things by reading his biography. So I will not explain here. It looks like he is very tall, In some biography, they describe him as very tall, And then the face, little big nose, and ear, very big, something like this. And then very pleasing personality. Each person has personality, right? Sometimes we feel we don't feel, when you try to interact, sometimes uncomfortable, right? In Tsongkhapa's, Je Tsongkhapa's case, it's a very pleasing personality. The more you stay, the more you like to stay more with him, or this kind of personality. Number 36. Nonetheless, flowing towards death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you. Even this, I think, is fortunate, right? Nonetheless, before the stream of this life, flowing towards the death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you. Even this, I think, is fortunate, right? So what this is saying is number 36. You have taught, you have the possessor of a lot of excellences, right? You endowed different kinds of the qualities, the qualities of the body, speech, and mind, and also you have possessed with a lot of different kinds of excellences, which I haven't understood even the portion of it. In spite of that, until my breath stop, until my breath come to cease, right? I have found a faith, I have found a slight faith, little faith in you. What kind of faith, right? Because on my part, Je Tsongkhapa say, I haven't understood your teaching and the points, the subtle points of the dependent origination, right? But in spite of that, the slight faith, it was born in me, that you have destroyed the object of grasping. This I understand. You have gone beyond the extreme of nihilism, the extreme of eternalism. Also this I do understand. So this understanding is based on faith, based on little faith, and that faith is conviction based faith, and that is derived through reason. Even the cultivation of this slight faith, I consider myself so fortunate. So this is what verse 36 is saying, right? Nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards the death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you. Even this, I think, is so fortunate. It's fortunate. I'm fortunate because it's this okay. Even this, I think, is really fortunate. Then 37, verse 37. Among teachers, the teacher of dependent origination, amongst wisdoms, the knowledge of dependent origination, right? You who are the most excellent, like the kings of the worlds, know this perfectly well, not others. Know this perfectly well, not others, right? So, number 37, right? Amongst teachers, the teacher of dependent origination, amongst wisdom, the knowledge of dependent origination, you who are the most excellent, like the kings in the worlds, know this perfectly well, not others. So, Buddha, right? So, we know this, that Buddha is a reliable teacher. Buddha is a valid teacher, right? In what sense Buddha is a valid teacher? In what sense Buddha is a valid teacher? Yeah. This is important, we already discussed. Buddha is a valid teacher. In what ways Buddha is a valid teacher?
Through the validity of his teaching.
Buddha is a valid teacher, right? To whom? To whom Buddha is a valid teacher?
To the beings who are seeking refuge.
Those who are seeking liberation, those who make each and every effort to bring an end to suffering. To destroy all the afflictions. So, for such a people, Buddha is a reliable teacher, valid teacher. Why? So, for such a people, Buddha becomes a valid teacher, reliable teacher. Why? Because Buddha has taught the method to achieve what they are looking for, what they are searching for, what they are aspiring for. Buddha taught, right? Right. So, for example, I'm thirsty or I'm hungry. Right. For example, you have benefactor, right? You have benefactor. Somebody is looking after you. So, that person in some way is a refuge, right? Temporary refuge. Because that person, provide me all the shelter, all the accommodation, right? For me, that person is grateful. Similarly, those who are seeking the liberation, the seeker of liberation, for this such practitioner, Buddha is a valid teacher, reliable teacher, because the Buddha showed them the method as to how to achieve the liberation, how to achieve the enlightenment. Right. So, therefore, based on that teaching, Buddha taught different kinds of teaching. As we discussed, the teaching which comprises what is to be accepted, what are to be accepted, and what are to be rejected, what are to be abandoned. Of all the teachings, of all the numerous teaching of what are to be accepted and what are to be rejected, the teaching of dependent origination is the supreme teaching, right? So, that is what say among teachers, the teachers of dependent origination, because Buddha taught that dependent origination teaching, among the different kinds of teaching, the teaching of dependent origination. So, the teaching of dependent origination is the supreme teaching. So, the speaker is the Buddha. So, Buddha becomes the excellent teacher and the supreme teacher, because the teaching is the supreme. If the teaching is the supreme, the teacher is the supreme. one who taught that teaching becomes the supreme, right? So amongst teachers, the teacher of dependent origination. Amongst wisdom, now here number verse 2, amongst wisdom, the knowledge of dependent origination. So Buddha taught, there are different kinds of wisdom, right? There are different kinds of wisdom. The wisdom realizing the impermanent, the wisdom realizing the nature of suffering, the wisdom then realizing the cessation quality, right? So there are different kinds of, and the wisdom, but then the wisdom of dependent arising, dependent origination is the supreme. This, the wisdom, right? So we have two wisdom, right? We have the two wisdom, right? The wisdom of dependent origination. The wisdom of the dependent origination of all the, of all the wisdom of dependent origination, and then there is another wisdom which also, the wisdom which understand, which knows, which ascertain the dependent origination. That these two wisdom, right? These two wisdom, you who are the most excellent like the kings in the world. These two wisdom, like you, who are the most excellent like the king in the like the kings in the world. So Buddha is like the king. Buddha is like the supreme king in this world, right? So Buddha is like the supreme king in this world. So just like this, these two wisdom are the supreme, and then that the supremacy of that. These two wisdom, the supremacy of these two wisdom as the supreme is what you only know, others don't. Got right? So understanding this also create a tremendous amount of merit, right? So we also bring back, a lot of merit in your house. Right? You got it right. You who are the most excellent, like the kings in the world, just like you are the most excellent king. Similarly, these two wisdom, as the being supreme, is only you know, others don't. So this is what it meant. Verse 37. You know this perfectly well, not other. Because you have flavored it, you have this wisdom in your mind. So it is you who know, knows very clearly. Others don't know, right? Then verse 38. All that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. That too is done for the sake of nirvana. You have no deeds that do not bring peace, right? So all that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. Buddha taught a lot of teachings, 8,400,000 sheep of teachings, a vast number of teachings, a vast number of teachings. All these teachings are based on dependent origination, right? Dependent origination. All the teachings which are based on the dependent origination, which are proceeds by the way of dependent origination, is taught for what purpose? Buddha's taught the teaching based on dependent origination is indirectly or directly to let the followers to the state of peace, total peace, the most satisfying state, the eternal peace, to bring to that state. That too is done for the sake of others. You do it for the sake of others, right? You have no other deeds. You have no deeds that do not bring peace. So every teaching, whatever Buddha do, right? Whatever Buddha do, you do it compelled by compassion, influenced by compassion. You do it for others to bring benefit. That benefit is the most satisfying benefit, the most satisfactory state. That is eternal peace. Your deed is not, you have no other deed which do not bring peace. All your attempt, all your action, all your attempt to teach is to bring followers led to the state of definite goodness, either liberation or enlightenment. Alas, your teaching, so 38, then 39. Alas, your teaching is such, in whosoever ears it falls, they all attain peace. So who won't be honored to uphold your teaching? Right. What time?
5:40.
5:40. Okay. Alas, your teaching is such, in whosoever's ears it falls, they all attain peace. Right. So who won't be honored to uphold your teaching? Alas, what is the meaning of alas? Alas. There are different words like hooray, right? Alas. And then any other?
Great.
Awesome. I see, whatever. Alas, your teaching is such. Your teaching is something so special that in whosoever's ear your teaching falls. Right? The teaching of what? The teaching of dependent origination. The teaching of dependent arising. Right? Right. So normally, when we say, because the teaching of dependent arising, very helpful. Normally, we tend to believe, the absolute. Because much of our mental suffering, much of our the mental suffering is caused by believing in the absolute, by believing in the solidness of the things, the existence of the solidness of the things. So this believing, such believing, very strong believing, only understanding dismantle this kind of believing. So it's very the moment this teaching of dependent arising is cultivated, there is a sense of serenity, there is a sense of calmness, because the causes which makes us uncomfortable, unpleasant is destroyed. So there is no basis for arising the solidness, seeing, believing in the solidness of the things, right? So it is by the kind act of dependent origination in whosoever's ears it falls, they all attain peace, right? They all definitely attain peace. So who won't be? If they attain peace, everybody wants peace, right? Everybody wants happy life. Everybody wants a joyful life. Everybody wants a mental peace, inner peace, a sense of inner peace. So if there is a teaching, which provides the inner peace, then there is nobody who rejects this teaching, right? We go after that teaching. We want to, we want to taste the flavor of that teaching, right? So they all attain peace. So who won't be honored to uphold your teaching? So they uphold the teaching, because there is a real medicine which which then quench, the medicine which dispel, quell the suffering. Right. So like this, for the pleasurable experiences, sensory level, we have external facility. External facilities definitely provide us pleasurable feeling, pleasant feeling at the sensory level, right? And we need all these things. And we also, when we have physical sickness, physical problem, we can go to hospital, right? There is a hospital. Hospital also provide the facilities, facilities to get recovery of our physical sickness. But here now the mental sickness, mental problem is now Jetsonghapa's very whole point of presenting this wonderful teaching is Jetsongkhapa present this teaching in order to dispel this mental suffering. So in order to dispel the mental suffering, it is very important to know the inner resources, right? Inner resources, the inner world, right? Inner world, the different kinds of emotions, how the particular emotions give rise to happiness and joy, mental joy, how the particular, on the other hand, how the a specific kind of emotions give rise to suffering. Clearly understanding all these things, and then finally all these things, all the positive emotions finally need to come here in the dependent origination. So it is through dependent origination which then finally is eliminate all the suffering, all the afflictions once and for all. Once and for all in a non-returnable way, right? So this is the text. So this is, on the other hand, is really the text of the medicine or medication, or the most profound psychological text. We can call psychological, subject text. Okay, up to here. Okay, now what? Oh, we still have
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
We do, or what do we do? Again and again, conversations.
pretty fast today.
Huh?
We did pretty quick today.
Quick, right?
We did a 10 verse.
9. Okay. Then yeah, we better leave no question. Then we. Sunche.